This conference will now be recorded.
This is because I sit next to him. And this isn't.
We win yet, Brendan?
Oh, that was getting empty, so I don't breathe on it. What else I got?
Okay, welcome everyone. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everyone. Call a meeting to order. First item is to approve the agenda that's before us. Is there any changes, Bruce?
There is an amendment agenda from the one that was mailed out in your packets. You'll know it by under highway at 8:30. There's the part that's underlined, and the part that was added pertains to the bridge by Wheeler Lumber, and John will be talking to you about that. Otherwise, I know.
Okay.
Move approval of the amended agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the amended agenda. Everyone in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Bruce
carried.
I don't have one.
Any conflicts today, Randy?
Nope. I know.
Anyone else?
So don't you have, Randy?
The newest agenda.
Okay. Approve the regular meeting minutes, May 9th.
I'll move we approve the well-written minutes.
Got it?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the best minutes in the United States. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We got next, bills?
Good grief.
Now you got to sustain it.
I will. I will do my best.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we take the bill 2023-1859 for First District Association for $5,000 and move it to our next meeting. I would second that.
Is that included with approval of the rest of them?
I can make that motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, so
All right, everyone,
Approve them all with the exception of this one.
everyone understand the makeup of our motion?
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Oh,
Yes.
Richard, it's the one you were asking about earlier.
Okay, any further discussion on it? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Personnel, no, travel requests, excuse me.
Richard, grab your bill list.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have what, one
Yes,
travel request?
one travel request for Pat Johnson to go to the MOCIC training in Branson, Missouri from August 20th to August 25th. All that.
What kind of training is that, do you know?
I do.
Nobody.
He talked about it.
Oh, there he is. What kind of training?
MOCIC is a federally funded program. Higher level.
Send other people to this meeting.
I went last week.
Thank you.
This week's supposed to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the travel request for Patrick. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
523.
Thank you. You know what a bewildered look looks like, huh? Okay, personnel, Brenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the classification change for Janet Springler, Anthony Spencer, and Travis Love.
Mr. Chairman, Janet is obviously, her last day is, I think, Thursday, but she's willing to come back on a part-time basis and help transition until the new person starts.
Okay.
If you're wondering.
Yeah, I was wondering that, so she quit. Now she's doing different classification, excuse me.
She's willing to come back in, if I may, Mr. Chairman. I think it help out and prepare for the next planning and zoning meeting and maybe help out with minutes and stuff too, just for a limited basis.
Second. Okay, motion and second, further discussion. Commissioner Dyke.
So Janet will not have benefits during that time.
No.
So it's quite a bit of savings there.
Yeah, she's thinking, that's what we're doing.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the step raises for Andrew Nelson with the Sheriff's Office, Krista Karadas with the Sheriff's Office, Anthony Panza with the Sheriff's Office, Reagan Matson with the Sheriff's Office, Nathaniel Erkson with the Sheriff's Office, and with Brenda Harvey with the State's Attorney's Office, and John Bay with the Highway Department. We have to appoint John separately. He's not a, no, it's a raise.
He's been appointed, so I think this is, you I think agreed to review John and Brenda Harvey after 6 months, so we're preparing for that.
Do we have a second?
Should say Brenda.
So I'll second it for discussion.
So did you say we're preparing for it?
Yeah, because you looked at the effective date, I think it's going to be July 1st, so the idea is that we know we have to do it, and so that we're not scrambling later on.
But does this motion then make that a moot point?
It would be effective
It would be effective.
on July 2nd.
Yeah,
The
as
5%.
stated. Yes.
Otherwise, we would be late.
Yes, we're making sure we're not going to be late.
Mr. Chairman, I think that both of these individuals are doing a good job leading their departments. I think we made a good decision on both parts.
Okay, further discussion.
Yeah, I have a question on that.
Go ahead.
On Becky Stevenson, new hire starting.
Haven't got that one yet. That wasn't in these.
I can do that
Here's
one
the one.
next.
Here's the one.
All right, well, we got a
I
motion and a
don't have a
second.
file like you got. I
On,
just got-
3, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Now we can go after some more.
Okay.
That's all right. These are new hires. I'll let Brenda handle.
So this is a new hire for the Public Defender's Office, also added here on behalf of the Public Defender's Office if you have any questions. And this is also for a cell phone per diem. If you notice on the back, it gave a synopsis from Amber as to her experience as to why she is going to a grade 10. She is, so that's all spelled out on the back. So she's asking to put her in as a full-time permanent deputy public defender at a grade 10 at a base pay of $3,192.60 per pay period effective June 5th, along with the cell phone per diem of $50 per month.
I think she's been looking for somebody since January.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your pleasure?
I'll move to approve the new hire of Becky Schmidt Stevenson.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then the last one I have is for planning and zoning, as we just talked about, Janet being reclassified. This is to replace Janet. Amy Miller is a new hire, coming in as a planning and zoning assistant technician at a grade 1, base pay of $22.71, effective on 6/4.
What is the employee manual labor?
I think that would be for residency, but
No,
was it carryover?
She lives in.
Yeah, there's no residence
I don't
requirement
think she
anymore.
has I don't know if Amber clicked that wrong, but I don't know that she would have one.
She lives here in town. She lives
State,
here,
she's
lives here in,
I would move to approve without a manual waiver.
Yeah, I don't think there's any
Second.
waiver required.
If they need to come back.
And or clarification on what.
We
Okay,
can ask.
motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Perhaps we should wait for clarification before we vote.
I can go up and find out. I sat in on the interview. I don't recall anything. She's working here locally. Has lived here for a year or two with her husband.
I'd rescind my motion and ask to table this until planning and zoning is in the room
Okay,
later in the meeting.
we can do that. Does that clear all of them up, Brenda?
Yep, that's all I have, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, abatements?
I forgot she's coming in. Thanks, sir.
Yeah,
We have an abatement.
I do have an abatement. Do you have any questions? This is
Oh,
an
thank you.
abatement for PTB2 LLC. This is for the taxes 23 payable and 24. When they were working the permit, they could not get past the gate to assess, and then they thought that the work was done. However, the parcel does not exist, so we need to
Oh.
Well,
abate it.
the improvement
It
didn't
didn't
exist.
exist, sorry.
It wasn't done, but we couldn't see
Yeah.
that, so.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Parcel does exist.
Yeah. Improvement doesn't exist.
Right, that's correct.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett.
United States Forest Service Zeppelin project scoping comments.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to note that the Timber Committee or Natural Resources Committee on your behalf, a week ago Friday, I think submitted the scoping comments. They were due that Friday. Talked to Bill about whether he thought it was necessary to come here, I think, and offer any further input. He didn't think it was necessary at this time. But that's another project that's underway.
Okay. 2023 State Health Services Agreement.
Mr. Chairman, in front of you is the belated, I guess, state health agreement there. County health nurse agreement, I think as we would call it. We'd be looking for authorization to allow either Brenda or I to e-sign it on your behalf. Copy you guys have Randall's signature, but we have an updated one that would have your signature on it. I think last year, I looked it up and I think that we paid $56,081, so there is an increase this year, 59.
Commissioner Nagler.
What was our budgeted line item for this?
It covers this.
Okay.
Yeah, but, yeah, because I did check to make sure that I had budgeted properly, so yeah.
Motion on the chairman's side of the agreement. County health nurse. Sorry.
Okay, motion and a second to allow the signature. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye. You got that, right?
I already wrote it down.
Yeah, already knew.
Receipt of Paradise Acres Road District petition.
This was just a formality, or not a formality. According to statute, we have to take the petitions to the commission at the next meeting after they've been filed, and we have to post a sign out there for 20 days prior to any type of public hearing. So this is just acknowledging the receipt of these, and post a petition and map out there according to SDCL 3112A-4.
Okay, we don't need to do any
No, it's
action on this, right?
Just FYI.
The minutes will reflect it.
Okay.
Yep.
Raffle. Do we have a raffle?
Mr. Chairman, yes, you have by letter dated May 15th. The Spearfish Area Chamber of Commerce is preparing again to hold another raffle this year. The prize is to be drawn on October 26th at a monthly mixer. You have a copy of the information in your package. You're looking for a motion to not object.
I move to not object to the Surface Chamber raffle.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second not to object to the raffle. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Sheriff Dean, I think it's time for you, sir. Welcome back.
Thank you.
The first item I have is it's time to review the contract for medical services provided in Warren County. The 9-page document that Dr. Outlaw has reviewed, so I'll turn it over to him.
Yep, so this is the renewal of the jail medical contract. It goes into effect on July 1st for a year. We're just getting out ahead of it. There is no change in the rate. I'm talking though with staff at Monument Health, there probably will be an increase next year. I don't have any idea what it is. But the agreement that you see in front of you reflects only date changes, nothing else. Looking for authorization of the chairman.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Mr. Davis?
Is there any way we could get a longer agreement?
I think that that's certainly a potential. I don't think it's likely to get one this year. Maybe next year we could get a price break if we went a little longer. They're the only shop in town.
Do you anticipate an increase in the new facility?
Yes.
Maybe that would be the time. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
In terms of a briefing on the Public Safety and Services Center, Mr. Diaz and I have spoken in regards to the particular subject matter that he is far more eloquent to present to the board than I. It's just an informational type thing. Mr. Chairman, I asked for part of my time to be surrendered to Mr. Diaz so that he could brief the board.
Okay, great.
So, one of the things that we're having to deal with the new facility is communication with outside organizations, particularly the state. It's not really a simple arrangement because we're dealing with several components of the state that don't necessarily play nice with one another. We have the Bureau of Information Technology, we have the AG's office, we have NBJS, and we utilize, the Sheriff's Office utilizes services provided by all those organizations. BIT is kind of the umbrella that oversees things. So their hand is in everything, but sometimes they don't necessarily agree with or play nice with the entities that they're supporting and the override. It's very complicated. And so one thing that we've dealt with when trying to bring in communications into this facility is what communication carriers they want to use, because it's taken them over a year to make that decision at this point. We finally have an accord, but it's taken a long time to get here. From the AG's office, the Sheriff's Office utilizes APHIS, which is their fingerprinting system. So when somebody's booked, their fingerprints are taken and it's automatically kept on file here on a system and then reported to the state. And we also get NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Center information that the FBI, as well as the states, each state has their own databases as well. But the Sheriff's Office utilizes that information continuously, and that connection is provided by the AG's office as well. In addition to that, we have UJS, which is the courts. And so they currently share a connection with the AG's office in this facility. But in the new one, we weren't sure if they wanted to do that anymore. And so it's been back and forth with them to try to get them to make a decision on it. Currently, we're looking at 3 different communication providers going into that facility. So Blue Peak, which is our internet provider, is would be our primary carrier for all of our data communications for the county. But then we have 2 others. One is SBN, which we do currently use, and that's for the 911 system. And they're on a dedicated circuit that comes in just for that purpose. It's isolated, as you would expect, because it's 911 service. It needs to be extremely secure, so it doesn't touch anything else. And then they're also have agreed to utilize that for UJS. Currently, they're using Midcode, and so the UJS hasn't decided what they wanted to do, and they've agreed to go with SDM, which I think is a better move in the long run. I think it's going to be a better connection for them, more stable, better performance. And there'll be separation, so the courts will have their own line connections as opposed to 911, but they'll be the same telecom provider. The last one is Lumen, and the Sheriff's Office 911 system is a Lumen. That's the provider of Lumen. But we have what they call alternate routing that's going into that facility. So the primary is SDN. So if there's an issue with that provider, because 911 services are so important, Lumen will also have a connection that goes into the facility so it can fail over for that one in the event that SDN has a failure. Lumen has been probably one of the more challenging ones to deal with because they want physical separation. So going into the new facility, there's going to be three 4-inch conduits, and we've planned for, and I think it's all covered now within the expected costs, to have separation within each of those conduits. There'll be sleeves in there, so each carrier can put their communications in a sleeve. But Lumen wants their own conduit. They also want separate junction boxes or isolation within junction boxes. So there's going to be access points, a couple of them between where the road is and where the facility is. So they want to be able to have their stuff isolated from the other carriers. So we've had to deal with that as well.
Like you said, they don't play well together.
They don't play well together, and the surprising one is that even within the state, there's not necessarily agreement between them. So the nice thing is we've got some costs. I think Brian might be able to talk about that for SDN implementation that UGS is they have approval to split some of the communication costs, which we didn't expect. So that'll be very helpful for us.
Okay. Commissioner Lumen, do we have another option besides them?
No, they're the carrier because they provide the service. So it's their system, and they're the redundant dealer.
So they're requiring this, so they should pay for it.
For their implementation.
Well, no, for those extra access points and
point.
conduit.
Yeah.
I think we should request that.
Well, that's a good point.
I mean, all they can do is say no, right? And we found this with public utilities. They come in and they say it's this way, and when you push back a little bit, sometimes you get a different response. So.
Okay.
I mean, we don't lose any ground. They say no.
I had to step out for a second. Is there any decision making that needs to be taken today? Or this is just by way of an update, right?
Money is likely to be spent soon, so I just thought it was important.
Well, thank you for the.
I also would point out, I think we sufficiently challenged the auditor to try to reduce that dialogue in the minutes for the next meeting. So I'm looking forward to reading it.
Now that she's challenged at a national level.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I know our construction crew has started to work out. There's sometimes on weekends we try to make up to about 26.5 days behind due to weather over the winter. But they're hoping for a good week. They continue to pour concrete, and I would guess by the end of the week we'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of roughly 40% of the concrete that has to be poured will be poured. So
That's pretty good.
they're doing quite well.
Okay.
That's all I have for the board.
Commissioner Diver.
I was looking through, if I may, on the report, and I'm haunted a little bit by the fact that there's some items from last year that haven't been responded to by the design team. I just don't want anything to come up and bite us. Are you satisfied that those are pending for a reason? One of them was from like last January, one was like last August.
What I'm comforted by is we talk about them once a week. And when I see continuity between our architect and our contractor, then I feel pretty good about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. That's it.
Brian, well, if I
Go
might,
ahead.
on the 26.5 days, will that be added on to the end of the deal, or how's it going to work?
Sounds like they're trying to make some of them up.
Yeah, I think it's their hope to still finish on time. I haven't heard an indication otherwise. Outside of that, perhaps they would. If we have another bad winter next year, then perhaps they come to the board and request.
I was shocked that it was the minimum of that many days working on top of hill and solid rock, I mean, you did quite well.
I agree. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I visited with Amber regarding her hire. If you want to take care of that, Amy Miller, there is no waiver requested.
No, I must have just hit the wrong button when I was pulling out the form. And she did want to be here today, but she's still currently working
Okay.
her other job, so she said to say
Well,
thank you and.
You
she'll
found
come
someone
and meet you whenever.
relatively fast.
Yeah, I interviewed 3 different people. Honestly, I was surprised they all had title and plat experience, which never happens. It was kind of odd. I think we're seeing a big change in the industry of just with the banking stuff changing. All of them came from like that mortgage lending sort of
Okay,
world.
you wanna-
So
We need to approve that one.
I move to bring the personnel request form for Amy Miller off the table and move approval of the amended form.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Bay.
Good morning.
That's why I wanted a short chair. Gave him a raise today, then we put the chair in and knocked him down.
Well, fellas, we got a dilemma here.
Starting out with it first.
I think we should just start with that.
Okay.
Right. Did you guys get these?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so then
The unfortunate
This
news,
is-
or that,
you go to the second page of that, we got, we had our bid letting for our bridge at the Wheeler Lumber on the 17th, so, I put together this little kind of timeline for you just so we can kind of get on the same page with it, because it ends up being a great deal bit more money than we were planning on and what we budgeted for the last 2 years for this bridge. Our obligation was always going to be around that $800,000 mark. And then when we did our letting authorization, at the end of last year, the increases were there, and we signed off on that. But when the actual bid came in on the 17th, we had 2 bidders and they were competitive and close to the engineer's estimate at the $2,800,000. But unfortunately, the grant amount stays capped. And if you look there, the state has gone forward with the 15%, but that covers the engineering fee basically. So our grand total that we're going to be responsible for is $1,976,000 roughly. Okay, so we've always budgeted for this bridge for the last couple of years. It's always been budgeted for $800,000. I guess my problem or my thoughts on it is, to start over with this could be a real issue. I brought Doug here from the state, and he's got some options for us.
did you bring a checkbook, Doug?
Unfortunately, no.
But he has some real good insight on it, and some options that are available to us. Hopefully, without starting over and rebidding and reapplying for grants here. I mean, if we do this, we've already been on this bridge since 2018. We've been working on this. I think he's got some options that will let us go forward with this bridge, and either explore some different type of payment methods or some supplements to the grant program. So I'd like him to explain it. He's way better at it than I am. So I think he's got some
Drag your
pretty
chair
good
on up,
ideas.
Doug. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Doug Kinneberg, Local Government Assistance, State DOT. As John said, the bids did come in fairly competitive and 13% over the engineer's estimate. And with you guys signing the letting authorization, that basically handed over full control to the Transportation Commission. So ultimately, as they meet on Thursday this week, it will be their decision on whether to award the contract or not. But we always extend the question out to the local government. And certainly, we wouldn't want to put the county in dire straits, so we do like to have your concurrence on the action that we recommend to to the commission on how they take on these. As John said, we do have a few different options. I mean, obviously the county could see the hardship here on the difference on what you budgeted for and the amount that you now need to come up with. You folks could make a recommendation back to the commission to reject the bids and allow you to either find other funding resource or open it up again and hope for a little better action on the bidding. That's always a gamble. We do have a lot of our contracts now where we're hearing from contractors they're full even through next year. So if we were to reject the bids on this and put it out for bid again, it could be a completely different set of bidders next time. Or we could get no bids. I mean, we're starting to see some of that. There's so much bridge work out on the market that we're having trouble getting bids on some of the projects. But again, some of the other options, you can request to reject the bids. And then as far as opportunities for other funding resources, as you know, you guys went in on federal bundle grant in Butte and Meade County federal program for the bridge. You got a couple of bridges that are under construction right now through that program. Well, there's an opportunity. We'll have another opportunity again in August for some federal funding for bridges. So you can certainly consider applying for it. You could consider applying again for the Bridge Improvement Grant Program for a larger amount in January is another option. And whether your recommendation to the commission to accept the bids or reject the bids, I think that could go either way on the funding resources too. I can tell you to date, the commission has not awarded additional grant funds. This last January cycle, we had 5 applicants that submitted in for additional grant funding because they found themselves in the same situation as you have. 2 of those 5 had already, the local commissions had already awarded the contracts, and they were all let locally. I do have to clarify that. So 2 of them were under contract, so they were just looking for additional funding to try to help out the project. The other 3, the local commissions had rejected the bids because they were well above their means of being able to pay for them. In fact, one of them was $5 million over what they had budgeted for. So it was completely understandable that there was no way that they could do that. Well, in the January applications, they simply applied for additional funding. The commission rejected that and wanted them to go back, square up, and then apply as though it was a brand new grant. So that is one option that's available to you. Again, it puts you back in the cycle of competing against everybody else. The fortunate thing with the way the Bridge Improvement Grant system is, you now have a bid review ready project, so you get 10 points for in the scoring of those to be able to compete against the others in that process if you were to do that. So those are a couple opportunities, one with our local federal in August, one with the Bridge Improvement Grant Program. The feds also have a bridge investment program. They refer to it as a BIP, so it's discretionary funds that the feds have, and you apply directly to federal highway. They have a minimum project size of $2.5 million, which obviously this one qualifies for that then. So that is another opportunity that you could apply for those. We have not seen the notice of funding opportunity come out on that. Last year it came out in June with applications due in September, and then the awards were made in March. So if they follow the same suit again, we expect to see the notice here pretty soon with applications due in September. But that is also an opportunity for you. I can say, put myself in our Transportation Commission shoes, it's going to be very difficult for them to reject the bids as they came in. With them being fairly close, competitive, again, only 13% over the engineer's estimate, which, typically once we start to get 20% or more, then we try to look and see what other opportunities there are for adjustments in bids and bidding climate and all that, to try to open things up. But I think they would prefer if we work together and try to find some other way to help the county finance the project. So another opportunity you have is you can simply get grants on your STBG funds that you get each year. Our office has been allowed to say we can easily advance you 2 years on those. So if you were to do that, that would still put you at about a $500,000 shortfall that you would have to come up in budget wise. If you got an advance for 2 years to help pay for your match cost on this project, it would still put you about a $500,000. You would have to come through budget wise. Now again, with us bidding this project this time of year and having completion through the end of next year, it really puts you into your fiscal year 25 before you would be seeing your final billings on these. So I mean, the department will certainly work with the county on how we can spread out some of those billings on that. Another opportunity we have is that we could do what we refer to as an SIB loan. It's a state infrastructure bank loan. So it is using your annual STBG allocation for repayment on that loan, but we can allow you up to 7 years worth of terms on that loan to pursue that. It'll only take 3 or 4 years of your annual allocation to actually cover this project. So that's certainly an option open up to the county, and certainly one that I would encourage you to consider. If you were to,
Can I ask a question real quick?
sure,
When you're talking about all these scenarios, are you talking to servicing the entire amount of 1.9 or the difference of $1.1 million?
we would service the entire amount. Yeah.
Okay, so we wouldn't be spending the $800,000 out that we had budgeted. All of the costs would be covered through these.
That would certainly be one option open up to you. Yes.
Bruce?
And so, trying to keep this all straight in my mind. So if one thing sequentially, if the commission recommends to approve the bid, all these other options can be evaluated over time, right? Nothing needs to be done. So you talked about some alternative federal funding sources and those kinds of things. Those can be evaluated. And then like this loan program, for example, that could be something that you do at a later point if necessary. Is that fair?
Yes, but I if the county commission wishes to pursue that, I certainly want to make it known at the time when the commission is considering the bids that you are open to pursue some of these other opportunities. So I don't want them to move forward and award it and then come back at a later time and discuss whether to award you a loan or whatever else without at least having that knowledge right at the time they accept the bid. So.
And this Thursday the commission meets?
Yes.
So the decision has to be made pretty much today.
It does, yep.
Do all these go to the commission or only the ones over 10% over the bid?
No, all the bids go to the commission for consideration.
So there's no special consideration at 13% like there was on one bridge we had that was considerably over.
And again, I don't know how our bid letting office will break these down, but they look at all the bid lettings we've had over the past 2 weeks and will make a recommendation generally based on what that percentage is away from the engineer's estimate. So, and you all are welcome to attend in person to our commission meeting. We have a conference call phone. If anyone would like to speak to the commission, you can call into that number, or for anyone just wanting to listen to what they do, we have a web access to that commission meeting as well. So, and I've shared that with John and Brenda, so we can get that out to everybody.
Just trying to frame the issue and so I'm clear. So we're talking about roughly $1 million extra to cover. Is that fair?
Yes.
Brenda, we had some one-time funding coming. It's not the PILT money, but I can't remember the acronym. Yes. And that was how much?
Well, we have received 446,000. We'll probably receive the other
tranche towards the latter part of this year.
So it's 800,000 and change that we've got unexpectedly that was not in our revenue estimates that we could apply here if we didn't get a loan.
And I do have $500,000 assigned for road and bridge in our assignment of funds. You know, in that money that I've kind of set assigned for certain projects. You know, some.
The other thing too that
let me just finish up on this if I could.
Yes.
What's the interest on that loan?
The SIB loans, the state infrastructure bank loans, are 0%.
Okay. And then what about the 104 million in ARPA dollars that are still sitting in the state coffers that aren't allocated? Is there a chance that could go to bridges?
I don't know the answer to that. Honestly, I don't know where that sits or what that's been obligated for.
Let me re-ask the question.
Okay.
Do you have a lot of these bridges that have the same problem statewide?
We're starting to see more and more of them again. Over this last year, we saw 5 of those. So I foresee this continuing to be a little bit of an issue. Yes.
Would 100 million help?
Well, yeah, most certainly it always
I
would.
just wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah.
We might be able to work on that.
And one thing that we did find out that if the county does have any additional COVID funds that haven't been obligated, those can be used for match on any of the bridge projects.
We have bigger fish.
Yep, understand.
Well, Mr. Chairman, did you want?
I did. I just wanted to make sure that this is coming right at the time for budget. You know, we're doing budgets now, and you know, for 23, we had just short of $3 million set aside for bridge construction, and this was going to be our only bridge for 24. And you guys had made the comment you were going to be looking for budget cuts. Well, that was going to be the big budget cut. It was making you the hero here. I say,
oh, you're setting yourself.
And
you got to raise this one.
But it's still going to be. If we do go forward with this, it's still going to be less than we have budgeted this year. You know, by nearly $1 million. So you know, just keep that in your mind. The timing is kind of right. At least we know the amount at this time for budget.
Well, in my experience, some of the payments may go into 2024 on this. And even though I think we have the funds, I would certainly like to explore a 0% loan.
Yeah.
And so I think, my opinion is we put the message to the Transportation Commission that if we're going to move forward, we want to look at an option of borrowing some of the money, if not all of it, under that program.
Brenda?
So this bridge would not be work would not be complete until 2024. I mean, they're not going to start on this bridge this summer, are they?
Well, it's hard to say. The way the process usually goes, once the commission makes the award, we usually have a contract within a month to the contractors. So it really depends on material sourcing and the contractor's own schedule of when they want to come in and get started. But I would say a majority of your costs will be in 24.
So we would be able to
With
budget.
even some of it could be in
And apply
25.
for that loan
So.
in the meantime. Yeah, it's going to be.
Our engineers are here too. They could probably answer some of those questions. I think they had made the comment at one time that if the high bidder would have been the bidder, he was going to start this year, but the billing would certainly not be this year.
If our message to the Transportation Commission is we want to accept the bid, but we want to look at the loan program, will that deter their decision in any way by putting that caveat?
I don't think so. I think that will help them solidify the concern that everybody is having with these costs coming in and the ability for everybody to cover them. So.
I want to ask the engineer a question. I want to know, this is about as simple a question as you could ever get thrown at you, but why is this bridge so expensive? What?
Well, again, I'm Doug Wessel with Road Engineering. We've seen this across the board, just not this particular bridge. You know, you have the increase in materials, you have the increase in labor costs. In this one, we're putting in some scour riprap, we're bearing some riprap. I mean, I'd like to say we're unique here, but this is not a unique situation.
Is it because of the past history of that particular creek going under that bridge that you gotta do things differently?
No, I don't think that, did you hear anything, Daniel, about that? I don't think, yeah, it's, because that one's dry most of the time.
Super fun.
Yeah. Randy?
Question for the state. Is there a shortage of bridge contractors West River?
There's a shortage of bridge contractors statewide, yeah.
So it's
And we're
supply and
getting
demand to a certain extent, isn't it?
We're getting a few contractors bidding from Minnesota still. But again, with this new highway we built, Bill, we got a couple years ago, everybody in the nation got additional funding for that. So I would assume over the course of the next couple years, as projects get designed, those contractors will be able to get work at home, and we'll see less out-of-state contractors.
And there's 60 bids this year in South Dakota, is that right?
We still have another 42 to bid before the end of the year just for our federal program. And that's just that one program.
I think that captures where we're at in the process.
Yep.
If we don't do something now.
Commissioner Sleep, you had a question?
Well, I was just going to ask Mike there, you're going to have a meeting on Thursdays.
Yeah, that's a commission meeting on Thursday, yep.
After that meeting, do you anticipate any changes in what's suggested to us? Or financing?
I don't think so. I think that, again, what the recommendation from our bid letting office will be is whether to award or reject the contract. And again, whatever the county's preferences are, we want to make sure that that's part of that recommendation, that they understand what you guys' feelings are and where you would like to go.
Thank you. Further discussion here? Your recommendation, John?
I want to go forward with the bridge. Okay. We've been working on it a long time, and I just like to keep going on.
Do we want to make a motion to the effect that we recommend
DOT accept the bid with the understanding we'd like to look at the export that loan program?
Amongst all the other options as well.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure you get your place in line if that's the case for the loan program.
The loan program and any other possible financing options. How about that?
Make that motion.
Second.
Okay, you got it all down, Brenda? Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you guys for traveling up here and helping us out here.
Yeah, I'd like to thank these guys for being.
Brenda?
John, do we need to have them sign that contract for that 15%? So
Yeah,
we need
did
to,
you have those, or do you want
I
the
have-
ones I got?
I'll take the one you have, because I
I
wrote
would
on mine.
move to authorize the chairman or his representative to sign the necessary contracting
And there's
documents.
also the one here for the NEMO preservation, the 15% for that NEMO preservation.
I need the contracts for the bridge. This is the SPRF funds. These,
Oh,
You want to restate that?
These-
never mind. I got it.
On the bridge in question, 41-214-100, I would move to authorize the chairman or his representatives to sign the appropriate documents to move forward.
I'll authorize the chairman, but I'm not going to have any of his representatives. I don't have any representatives.
I was thinking,
We are the other representative.
Okay, I amend the motion not to include the other. How's that?
and then
Okay,
are you
we
gonna
have
talk
motion
Thanks for
and a
cleaning me
second.
up, buddy.
the other
All those in
15%?
favor of the motion will say aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Motion carried.
Want that one here.
If we want to have any discussion about the other one, that's for the preservation project, that we'd already applied, Bros had applied for the 15% right away. If you remember, that bid came in over the engineer's estimate as well, and they immediately applied for the 15%, which they've supplied the contract for that as well.
Have we moved to approve that already?
Chairman is.
Yes.
So we got an email from Noel, and what they need from us, and she works with Doug, is that they need a motion to approve the amendments to these agreements, which adds that 15% on there. So
So moved.
that's so. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, motion second. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I like it when they make the motion for me. I just have to say yes. Write it out.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for dragging my family out of that mess.
All right, done with the bridges, I guess, right? The Hill Street annexation problem will be our next deal. I don't know if you guys have any
Thank
more
you, gentlemen.
information than I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. The Hill Street annexation, going up that hill, I guess, I don't know if anybody's been in contact with the city or if we know how far they're gonna annex. I sent an email and I have not heard back yet of the actual, I know the 750 feet on that deal. I'd like to know if they would like to annex further up to, I think, to where the city's entrance to their water tank is. I would like to see them at least improve the road to that point. I have a real problem. I think to go 750 feet to the west on Hill Street is going to be a pretty hard section of road. It's already a hard section of road to maintain as it is. And I think if we just move that asphalt 750 feet to the west, it's not going to really solve a problem for us. I think we're just going to move the problem. I think if they do take jurisdiction of this road, which I believe they should take jurisdiction of this road and expense this road to improve it for this venture, that it should go up to their tank entrance. It's flat there.
Yep.
So, whatever, I guess, we haven't really heard from the city what's going on there 100% yet that I know.
You did get their annexation report and the staff report, I think. I think I forwarded those, but if not, I can get it. I don't know the answer to the question. There's a map that I pulled from the document today that would show the Hill Street just for that stretch there in front of their new apartment buildings. It doesn't appear as though they contemplate going as far as what you suggested, John.
Yeah, well, they go up to where the water line crosses the road from the city tank. Again, I'd like to see them go further. I'd like to see them go all the way up to that approach to their water tank. It's flat there. I think we'd have a better chance of keeping a road together. There's a real problem with asphalt and gravel when they meet on it. You can never keep the gravel off the asphalt.
That just makes good sense to go on up to their facility.
Yeah, and it's all one landowner. The landowner that's requesting this annexation for this development is the same landowner that owns the property. Their water tank is their access to their water tank. It's all one owner. The Thompson Trust.
Mr. Chairman, I think when John and I talked, I think he wanted to present this to you for your direction to make sure that there was a consensus, and then perhaps go back to the city and have follow-up discussions
For sure.
with either these concerns or any additional concerns that you have. Because to date, there haven't really been any meaningful discussions. So we wanted to make sure that you guys were okay with it, right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's even anything to vote on here, really. I just want to, it'd be nice if the city was a little more committed on this. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Bruce.
Amber did talk to Marlo, and as I understand it, that, and as you probably have seen, they were talking about utilities, sidewalks, and paving for the road surface, and that I think the progression would be is that these improvements would get made, and then the city would agree to annex the property, and there'd be a number of things that would happen simultaneously: an annexation request, a zoning request, a development plan. But I think a key for that would be that the road gets improved. So if that's all true, up until that time, that is your road, your jurisdiction. And so someone would need to have your permission to occupy the right of way and to do the work in there. And I think that maybe is a concern that all of a sudden the work gets done and for whatever reason the road doesn't get annexed and you have these additional improvements and sidewalks and things
Correct.
in your right of way.
Under our control and
under recourse.
Our maintenance from then on if somebody doesn't legally take possession.
I think it's time for us to be meeting with the city again. meant to do it sooner and it hasn't happened, so maybe if you could reach out and we'd like to set up a meeting with them.
And so I think that the city, this might be standard protocol for cities and how they do annexations. But maybe the preference would be to take to them would be, you annex it now and the road is all yours and you sort that out, right? And
I think that would be easier for us.
Randy?
Do we know when the annexation hearing is?
I've got the report here. I don't know if it says.
Well, I agree. If you're going to annex and you have both sides of the road, it's your road.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
I think we need to send a strong message that if they're going to build in that right away, they need to annex, or they need to take over the right away. And otherwise, we may not allow them to build in that.
If we don't do that, well, we're gonna be in a problem all along.
Same problem we have every time.
And looking, I'm pulling up the notice here. I don't know that it says exactly when their area is. Here's just that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I can reach out to the city to set up a road meeting to have follow-up discussions, not only on those issues from last year, but this one in particular.
Yep.
Did you want to confirm who would participate on behalf of the county commission? I don't know when that meeting would happen.
I would like to be there.
I'll go if we need somebody else.
I could do it too.
Looks like you got 3 of us.
Well, then we have to do a notice of quorum.
That's fine. No big deal.
Then the public can attend, and I know the city is willing to know that. It's their, it's, I would suggest 2.
Doesn't matter to me.
Very good. Mr. Cleveland, so. Right. John, what else you got for us?
The grant, the SRP grant, the State Planning and Research, did you guys decide to sign that? I think I give you the 2 contracts that need to be signed to go forward with this
That's an 80-20 match.
80-20 match, and we've committed to as much as 50,000. So in the past, most of these people have done master transportation studies, and it looks to me like they're all in that 150 to 175,000 range total. So our portion will be adjusted off of that at 20%.
Move to allow the chairman to sign the agreement.
Second. Okay, then second, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Did you have something, Richard?
Well, I'm concerned about that. I don't know if we want to start down this path or not. We ought to know what we're going to do it. Asking for them to do an analysis on the project next. That's just my thinking.
Well, the good news is that if we get it, we don't agree with it, we won't have to accept it. If we feel it's painting us in a corner with improvements.
Okay.
So we've already gotten the grant, haven't we? We just need to say yes. Yeah. So shouldn't we have, I kind of agree with Victor, shouldn't we have a plan for it at this point? Seems like we've been kicking this can down the road every time. Sooner or later, we got to pick up the can and decide what to do it.
Yep. Agreed. Call a question.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
I guess the last I have, aside from the flood damage report, is the Old Bell speed limit. I did go out and I did a little measuring, and I did a count on the number of approaches. This section of road from Dairy Lane to Camp Comfort, it's a half a mile stretch, and there's just field approaches and there's also tree shelters on the east side, a little bit on the west side. The measured at Dairy Lane, the average daily traffic count in 18 was 779, so it's fairly high traffic count on that stretch of road. And it goes from 35 to 55. not an unreasonable request to ask for a speed limit of 45, but the accident reports are not. We were able to go back to 2019. There's only 4 accidents and only one of them was speed related.
Randy.
I had a request to lower that about 3 years ago. I believe it was. Alan had set up a monitor out there and done some speed
That's when
counts.
we did the traffic count.
And basically, the summary of the speed was there was one vehicle, which was a motorcycle, that was going at a very high rate of speed. And out of the others, there was maybe 1 or 2% that were accelerating a little fast.
Right.
So they weren't reaching the maximum 55 till they got to Camp Comfort.
Well, back then I done some accidents out there and they were alcohol related, not speed.
Well, by the state reports that I have, most of them are animal hits, or most of them.
It's a big crossing right between the new
I think
tree belt and the old tree
with
belt.
those tree belts, I'm sure. But that was the majority. But it was only 4, so like I say, it's not an unreasonable request, but I don't know if it's warranted.
I don't remember why Alan didn't support it. Does anybody here?
Mr. Jennings, you travel that road all the time. What are your thoughts?
No,
Not even alone?
not in favor of changing that speed limit at all. Those are, they're all approaches, but those approaches have been there forever. The commission added one new approach last summer, I believe. But other than that, nothing has changed. And just, like Mayor John or Bob said, that the wildlife keep the speed down there as much as they can.
You know, maybe some signage saying farm equipment in this area or deer crop, something like that might be as appropriate. Just
Well,
give
we can
heads
look
up.
into some different signing. I would also, I did notice when I was out there kind of inspecting the area, there is one kind of weird, it's a real short passing zone. I didn't like that myself. I never.
Oh yeah,
noticed it.
there is.
It's like
And
maybe
it's
100 yards long, and it's just a
And
quick spot, and I could see that going away.
I think that's a good idea because of that new approach.
Yeah. So
They can pass after they get past Camp Comfort.
The issue though is there's a lot of recreational traffic there, bicycle and walkers. So that short passing zone is effective to get around the bicycles. Without that, legally, you should wait till you get clear to Camp Comfort
right.
to pass a bicycle.
If there's not a problem, don't fix it.
Well, yeah, that's the way I look at it. And there is a lot of agricultural traffic going across that road that honestly, they probably should not have the stackyard across the road from the hayfield if they're concerned about traffic.
Or have the approaches and see if just go right across.
Well, that's the problem. They do go right across.
There are a couple of field approaches are mirrored.
They're straight across, so they're
Well, the
going
guy
across
that's
the road
asking
all
for
the way.
the reduction in speed is not actively farming or ranching it, it's leased out, so.
Yeah, Jimmy's youngest boy is asking, and
Yeah.
Larson leases it, right?
Yep. So leave a sleeping dog lie? Is that what I'm hearing?
Like, on the entire Old Bell Road, there's agricultural traffic and there's no acknowledgement of that. So maybe a signage as you come through that transition would be a reminder, something that simple.
Okay.
Because it's all the way down at like feedlot.
Yeah, there's
all the
no
way to
issues in
Layton.
that stretch that are any different than the rest
Right,
of
exactly.
the entire.
And a curve at McVeigh's.
Yep.
You gotta come around by your dad.
We'll look into some signing and see what's available and what's.
Lots of emails.
And I think reviewing the passing zones throughout the whole thing might be important. So there's some new approaches further down the road too.
And all of this can kind of go under this study grant too. We could do an intermodal area plan like this, and we could pick a area like that. We got a little time to pick that, to pick what we study and where we study. This could be a spot.
Thank you for this document. This is great.
Yeah, it's plenty. Thanks. I had them last meeting too, and I forgot to hand them out. I've been thinking of Brenda. I watch her write and erase and write and erase, and I think, God, if I could make this easier for her, maybe it would be better.
Well, suck up.
I do what I can, where I can there.
No wonder that raise got through so quick.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate you keeping us in the loop on everything. I thank you for the phone call the other day on the water.
And you see the
issues as
flood
well.
report there. It's nothing horrible yet. I haven't talked to them today to see if they got all the water away from that north pier, to see if there's any visible damage. What they inspected after they took the forms off, everything looked good. They didn't anticipate any problems, so
Okay.
we're hoping that's the case.
They were able to drag their crane out of the
It was
puddle.
still there yesterday, and probably 2 feet of water still around it, but they were dewatering yesterday, and I don't know if they got it. I haven't been out there today yet.
What's that?
Is the road still closed?
Research.
No,
Boy.
no,
How
they,
long was it closed?
it was closed for 2 days. They were supposed to, they had it open on Tuesday where they were anticipating Thursday, so they actually got it open 2 days earlier, so all's well there too. And we didn't flood the town of St. Ange, and I think that's the most important thing. Other than that, we survived the 7 inches of rain pretty good.
Does that complete everything you have for us?
I have nothing else.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for Don? All right, keep up the good work.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys have a wonderful rest of your day.
Mr. Chairman, how about a quick break?
I suppose we can do that.
And Jesse can wow us.
I did have that email on the drive though, so at least it was there.
Oh, yeah.
That's fixed, Eric, and it sounded like a strange request to have him respond there.
Here.
All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Jack, you're going to executive session. We'll be back. Okay, I think we're back live.
Okay, I'm pretty sure Sheriff Dean does do those kind of things. He seems to be kind of run a pretty close ship over there. It seems like from an HR standpoint, they should have something in writing. On paper. Oh, we do have a manual. Oh,
Right.
Okay,
Back live.
we're back.
No action
Without
taken.
any action. And it is really close to 9:30. 9:30 is our next agenda item, and it's first reading and public hearing for change of zoning 291-13.
21-23.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's misprint on there.
Mine says 13.
Yeah, on the staff report system. Mine does too.
One.
Let's get 23. Yeah, update it.
Trying to be corrected in my paper.
Yeah.
Who wants to lead this off for us? Amber? Get Amber in the room here and we'll go from there. We're ready for you, Amber.
Okay.
By the time you get ready, it'll be exactly 9:30.
It's not
It is.
Okay, so this is, it says change of zoning. Keep in mind that's because this overall change of zoning application is the Powderhouse Pass master plan. So it's always going to have that 291 number. So we keep them consistent. So it's 2023. They're asking for an amendment to the land use map that was in their master plan. If you remember when we redid their entire master plan, we did an amendment, and at that time we've been asking them for more detail, kind of where they want the commercial stuff, where they want the single family residential, where they're going to have everything. And that's what this is it's just part of that process. So the original plan was in 2005. It was amended in 2019. At both of those, it was always consistent that they laid out a total maximum number of 72 commercial industrial acres or lots, but they didn't really know exactly where those were going to take place yet. So this amended land use map shows some of those areas that they want to actually depict for commercial uses. And with that, we decided as part of that PUD master plan update that we would do a full public hearing process, just to make sure everybody was well aware of what was taking place. Planning and zoning did hear this, and they did make a recommendation after listening to the applicants, and Michelle Jacobs was present at the last meeting, and she's here again today. And at that time, the Planning and Zoning Board motioned to amend the PUD land use map with the exclusion of the portions along Black Forest Road. That was their recommendation. So you guys are hearing that same application today. It is just the first reading, so you wouldn't make a decision today. And with the application, I'll get to the map here. So this was just the amendment, an addendum to the amended master plan, and this is in the packet. You can read through all of this, but basically it just realigns what their original plan was. And then this is the updated land use map. So everything in like the gray and stuff is the original phase 1, phase 2, which is following right along where they said it was going to. What they'd like to add in is these commercial pockets. So you have here, here, this stretch along here, and then this is Black Forest Road. So these two parcels here. The stuff up here is consistent with where we just did that little the lighthouse industrial, the little kind of building that's right up in here. I believe this one here, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but this is like where the field house or the house is, right? That's like where the
Right behind it.
entry building is, like
Clubhouse.
kind of their clubhouse area with pool and everything. That's kind of up in this area. This kind of corner down in here, coming down Rochford Road, way back in the original plan in 2005, that's always kind of, I guess I would consider that their campus area. That's kind of what they had designated on the old one as kind of a campus area. And then this Black Forest Road here are the two parcels that they're looking at here. So that's kind of the amendment portion of it. And I do know that they did submit a, let me go here. This came in yesterday. They wanted to just clarify from the landowner of what their overall intent was. They're showing the area. So these were the two parcels of Black Forest Ranch Road that they were looking at. This is owned by Lawrence County currently. And this is the where the search and rescue building is. This portion right here is where they would like to look at putting the storage facility. And they had kind of talked about that off and on, but we've never seen an actual, originally it was going to be over on this side. So, and then they're kind of showing where Jacob's building sits. This one here was the old building, that kind of little compound area inside Black Forest Ranch Road that used to have the garbage service in there. That's been sold now. What else? 3, this little triangle piece up here is another parcel they'd like to break off and utilize as commercial. So 3 and 2 is what they're looking to utilize as commercial space. So they submitted this yesterday. I did email it to you guys last night. And then landowners are here.
I'll let the applicant add anything that they might want to at this time before I open the public hearing. So anything you want additional you want to add to what Amber's already said?
Yeah, Ron Williams with AE2S on Rapid City, engineer for EH Development. And after the discussion last month at the planning and zoning, I guess our client would like to respectfully request that the commissioners reevaluate these 2 lots and include them in the approval of the master plan, land use plan. So, you know, we feel that we've done a lot of due diligence, plans moving forward in the area that it's already in. Is conducive to the commercial light industrial. There's already commercial light industrial there at former garbage collection place, which is now I think been sold and now is going to be used by a contractor. You know, if you want to pull up that map a little bit, Amber, I think you're looking at, this is kind of where we're thinking about putting some storage units, you know, anything that we would do in either one of these lots would be conducive to the area that it's in. EH Development doesn't want to put anything in any of these lots that would be a detriment to the neighborhood or to its own development. This is a residential area. This is phase 4A, Auburn Acres. This is residential, as part of EH Development. So we wouldn't do anything, or they wouldn't do anything that would be detrimental to everything that they're doing, as well as the neighborhood. So with something like a storage unit facility, you know, accesses would be put, you know, down here, well away from any of the neighborhood, residential access. There's a massive amount of trees that can be used as a buffer. I can tell you from experience as the engineer, if I design anything and I have to take down a tree, I hear about it, trust me. So VH Development is really conscientious about what they're trying to do up there, even in the commercial light industry. They have their own, they have to go through the CID's, VH Development's architectural review committee. So anything that's built there has to go through that. So they make sure it's conducive to what they allow, as well as all the requirements for the county has. So we feel that the denial of it isn't really in line with
with what we're trying to accomplish up there and what they would do. So again, I guess we're just asking that the commissioners reevaluate that and include those 2 lots in the approval of the master plan land use map.
Okay,
And I'd be happy for any questions.
all right, at this time, we'll open it up for the public. If you wish to speak for or against this, please stand up, state your name and your address for the record. And once we take all of the public comment, we will close the hearing and it'll be offered to the board for discussion. So is there anyone in the body of the audience that would like to speak at this time?
Hello, I'm Michelle Jacobs. I live at 11288 Black Forest Road. I'm the property they want to put 2 commercial places next to me. Now it's storage units, but if they're commercialized in the future, who knows what it. So I do live there. I have residential all around me, but all of a sudden now they want to put 2 lots next to me that are commercialized. We have a neighbor on the Storley over there. And Jim Lucy, who was right there, stored his garbage trucks there. He didn't have a business there. And the covenants in Black Forest Ranchettes did not allow it, but nobody in the neighborhood, we all live there. 99% of the people live there in Black Forest Ranchettes full time. There's no rentals, BBROs, there's 2 of them. So all your residential people are traveling this road. They're also riding their bikes. There's kids out and about. Yesterday there was a bunch of kids out and about. So putting 2 commercial pieces of property in the middle of residential, which is behind me, in front of me, and to one side of me, and now you want to put 2 residential areas or 2 commercial areas when they have all this other stuff they can deal with. Why not just make them residential? You know?
Okay.
So I'm just saying, today it's apparently a storage unit. 10 years down the road, it could be something else because they are commercialized. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I can add a little bit. 21351 Sayride Loop. My name is Phil Hammond. Sayride Loop is a loop off of Black Forest, but I'm part of the Black Forest Ranchette, so I access that to get to our property. I agree with Michelle. It's just, I got kids running around out there. I moved out there to raise my family, not, have to worry about my kids getting run over or taken, because there's all this industry commercial stuff going on out there. So anyway, I got kids. It kind of worries me what they plan on doing. They've already taken over the whole area out there, and there's no doubt about it. We see a huge influx and side by sides and ATVs and stuff, which is okay, but nonetheless, I got kids and I'm concerned. So I guess that's about all I have.
Anyone else? Anyone else like to speak at this time? Okay, would the applicant like to add anything to what was brought up here?
Well, I can see that the concerns are kids. Well, a lot of the development has kids coming to it for summer, if not full time. The development has a swimming pool and a water park, and it's got a game room with pool room. So we expect kids to be in there. But again, we're not going to build a factory. We're not going to build a factory here. We're not going to build things that would cause detriment or harm to the very things that was just spoken about. Those are things that we would definitely not want to create. And we won't just build anything. So, there are things in place at the county and in the development that would prevent just building anything. You just can't come in and build anything. And I'll use the lighthouse project as an example. There was very specific discussion and requirements about screening, traffic. You're not going to store equipment, materials there. It has to be enclosed. All those things, not to mention the building had to be conducive to the area in architectural nature. So there was a lot of effort put into making sure that that particular project which would be similar to these storage units, that create an atmosphere where we don't have these problems. Black Forest Road, if we're concerned about traffic, is going to be improved, widened, paved. Then snow will be removed by the development. So it's actually going to be a better place for those kids and the people that live down that road. Okay. So I would say that it's going to be an improvement as opposed to a detriment.
All right, is there anyone else? I'm gonna offer one more time for opportunity for anyone else who would like to stand up and speak for or against this.
Well, even
State your name and address again.
Philip Hammond,
Thank you.
21351 Sayride Loop. Even paving the road concerns me because I've lived here my whole life. I grew up here. I know what a paved road does. People start driving faster, that kind of deal. So I don't even see that keeping my kids safer by any means.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and offer it to the board for discussion. And as said, this is just the first reading, so we won't be taking any action on it today. But anyone have any? Randy?
I have a couple questions for the applicant. Black Forest Road, is that your right of way or whose right of way is it? It's development. And it was there before the development?
It's public
right of way. Okay. So who is the legal authority on that right of way? It's in the road district?
Well, it's in the CID. Bruce and I looked at it and they're gonna have to sign off on any of the plats that are along that stretch up until you get to Black Forest.
And do they have
Because they
speed
have
limit
land
and enforcement authority?
Yes.
As far as I know, yes.
John, can you answer?
Yeah, John said yes.
Okay, all right. And what is the tract labeled 6 up there? What is that currently zoned where the garbage used to be?
It's all forest.
Park Forest. Okay. So that was a non-conforming use maybe, or?
No, he just had it for storage. He didn't actually do the garbage, anything. He had trucks parked there for years.
And so let's go back to the zoning map, if I could, please.
The one that the land use map.
Yeah, it had the shading, just the shading, the commercial corridors. It's the other one. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I just wonder why the whole frontage of 14A is not commercial. Is there a reason for that? You got gaps in it. Between the 14A symbol, it is where no, go down further in the gap. Okay, right in there. Why isn't that all the way down?
That's the stretch where you turn off of Rochford. That's all. Yeah, it's already current housing.
What's the little island there?
This one?
Yeah.
I don't know if they own that one.
Yeah, I can't tell in the shading.
Yeah. Okay. That's a 2-acre piece that the guy near Mountain bought.
You're gonna see that later.
The highway.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. So go back to your parcel map with the circle numbers, please. Yeah, that one. So if 2 was approved of the zoning they requested, that opens it up to all the uses within that zoning district. Is there a way to restrict that specifically to storage units?
It's not a, but
This one,
it's not a, if you allow the commercial zoning.
Multiple things.
Any of those things could be applied.
Approved.
Right. But they could, as a CID, restrict that.
Maybe, I don't know, that'd be a question for John.
Second part of the question. Under its current zoning, could they do a conditional use permit for storage units on that?
I don't believe so under the rules that just took effect on May 5th.
Zoning, or it's not under Park Forest zoning.
I think
And then lastly,
I
If they put storage sheds in there or any commercial improvement, do they have to bring a development plan to us, or does it go to the CID only?
No, it goes to us, because it's still, our zoning still applies. And remember, this is the PUD zoning does not change. It will still be zoned planned
Yeah, I
unit
get it.
development,
It's
but
just the interaction.
just the interaction of how they.
All right, and now I wanted to talk about parcel, circle 3. What's the corridor coming through there? Looks like an old highway or something that there's no trees in.
It's a power line.
It's utility,
Yeah,
easement,
it's
electrical,
Okay, so it's overhead power.
which is actually gonna be very exposed.
So that easement would restrict what you can do currently, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And what's the plans for that area? Why are you asking for commercial in that area?
It's just, it's because it's the access right off the road. And the area is more conducive to commercial because of your access. And the nature of the lot isn't very conducive for residential. Size wise, it just doesn't work very well for residential. And you got kind of the commercial area right across the street, so it'd be tough to sell that for residential.
Keep in mind, you're calling 6 commercial. It's
Yeah.
not.
No.
It's residential, no
Commercial
matter
and
what.
commercial.
So when do you plan on paving Black Forest Road?
That project's gonna start this spring. It's a pre-construction date.
Is that a rural paving area without curb and gutter, or will it have
Yeah,
curb and
it's
gutter?
about
And remember,
that we're not gonna pay up to
up to 6 or right there.
Going up to here.
Yeah.
Under the plan and zoning recommendation, it wasn't a denial, it was an addendum. They were going to accept everything except
They
these 2.
accepted everything except for those.
So there
I
was
guess,
no official
2 and
denial, there
3
was a modification. Their
Yeah.
recommendation was a
was a
modification.
modification.
That's just a recommendation.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, further discussion, as this is just the first reading. Seeing or hearing none, we'll continue this on to the next
Yep,
meeting
June 13th
And
at.
for decision.
I have a point of order. Would we be acting on the recommendation from plan and zoning or the original application?
That's up to you guys.
Okay.
You pull that forward and you decide from there, because the application came forward the same. I'm still presenting the full land use map. You just have their recommendation.
Which they have.
Yep.
Okay. Won't be making any decisions till the next meeting.
So 9/15 is the next one on June 13th. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
We can do our next hearing, Amber.
That's fine.
The next one's a public hearing on CUP 482.
Okay, so this is Casey and Heidi Q, and this is Q lot 2. So context wise, where this is located, if you remember where Big Mama's is in the home camp, it's a parcel that's right next to the home camp, close by to the Forest Service / I just blanked the name of it, the gravel pit. Pete Lean, there we go. I couldn't remember the name of it. Pete Lean and Sons has the gravel pit directly adjacent to this. So the gravel pit's kind of up on the hillside here. This is an old house. There's a house and a barn and everything already there. It's been there for a long time. These guys purchased it and they would like to be able to operate it as a specialty resort and wedding venue to hold weddings and stuff using the existing structures. It would be a conditional use permit. And really, I mean, infrastructure wise, everything's there already. There's nothing really to be done except for I was out that way last week. They've cleaned it up a lot. There's a lot of junk and stuff that's been removed, and the barn and the house is, they've been working on it. So it's just getting cleaned up, and they just like to operate out of it. They do live out in that Nemo area, so they're around. It's not that they won't be around.
Okay, well, it is a public
really all I
hearing, and it
have.
looks like we've lost our public, so I don't need to go through that show. Obviously, this gentleman's not gonna contest it, so we'll close the public hearing and offer it to the board. Did you have anything you wanted to add, sir?
No, other than it's not, I know, the barn, we're just kind of using just the shell for wedding venue.
Okay.
It will not have a kitchen and all that. It's a low budget.
Okay.
It won't be your $10,000 wedding venue, it'll be a $3,000 or $4,000.
Okay, Brandon.
Are you planning on getting a malt beverage license? Be the only condition I would have is at such time as if they do go that route, that you be notified, that you can notify us if there's gonna be alcohol sold.
The brown bag.
Okay.
Say
Wouldn't they have to
brown bag would be
do
something different.
a permit?
Yeah, it has to
Right.
come through a public hearing.
Yeah, we've never heard from any of the neighbors. Not even John.
Yes.
You're next to Jan Cabrera, Big Mama, right?
Yeah, your jam.
I didn't hear a word from Jan, and we had that conversation.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure she did. Probably where
How
she
to do it
should
properly.
Randy?
Is there an approach off of Nemo Road?
Yeah, it's an existing
Does it need to
access,
improve the
existing
commercial?
driveway. John
Just a
looked
question.
at it, I guess, because he was out there to look at the new access that they're putting in to get up to Pete Lean. It's a pretty good access. I mean, it was a driveway access before.
Okay. And then, I remember we approved one of these in a barn before and we ran into some building code and fire code issues.
Yeah, we discussed with him already. He will have anything in that has to be brought up to code.
Yeah.
Yeah. This luckily isn't a 2-story building, so that helps tremendously.
And we move on this today, don't we?
Yeah, it's just conditional use permit. You can, so you can change.
You know, I the only condition I might add is, and I just want to discuss it, is that if the approach merits improvement to facilitate the increased use, that be done.
Through the approach permit process too, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if we just put a caveat in the motion, but you know, a field access or an ag approach is a lot different than when you have 200 people coming to a wedding, or 50 people come to a wedding. And then maybe somebody's, I don't know how wide the approach is. So anything from John Bay on that would be very supportive. I mean, it's a different approach than a field approach, which has been historic to this sort of personal driveway.
Something along the lines that follow the recommendation of the highway superintendent regarding either any present or future approach issues.
Approaches and parking. Approaches and parking. Yeah, I think.
Parking is under our parking rights.
Okay, and it's
so that's a condition.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I'm looking for some wording like that. Just
Commissioner State? Is that a old barn there? Or it is old, but it doesn't have any insulation. I think it's just a wood frame structure.
I think that's correct.
Yeah. Is that right?
It's just the pine cones that's rolled back from the ceiling. Otherwise, it's just 2x4.
So it's easier to burn than not.
Yeah.
That might be a problem to need to address. Fire protection.
Yeah, they'll have to bring in the whole, before they can allow people to be in the barn, it'll have to meet code requirements. So we'll have to review that with them and go through the process. Because once you have people in it, it changes things a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Exits and things like that. I remember going through with the Frawley folks. They were planning on people upstairs, narrow staircase and upstairs. Even in their enclosed courtyard, there were some issues about folks being able to get out, even though they were already outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are rules.
I think that's covered.
It sounds like Big Mama's got him all straightened out.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's 1, 2, 4, and 5.
You're okay with all the conditions?
Yeah, how do we check out what road our plan was just going to start working on it?
Yep, we can at any time if this gets approved, you can start working with Jeff upstairs and he'll kind of help you through it. We probably will utilize Tom Paisley again on this one because it is commercial based. That's what we've done on all the other ones. So we'll put you in touch with him and he'll help you come up with a commercial plan, like a just so that it meets fire code requirements and different things.
ADA.
Commissioner Dyer.
Septic is porta potties? What's the plan?
They can, yeah, they can have additional, but there's also a septic system there in the house. It's already existing and it's fine. Everything's operational.
Okay.
But we allow porta potties.
So it's just a residential septic system then. It's much different than several hundred.
Yeah, usually specialty resorts, you just bring in porta potties for event purposes.
And so that's written somewhere, or I didn't see that in the conditions.
That's stuff I mean, you can add it as a condition, but
So in item 11 speaks to a little bit where any of them that will be installed will have to meet the criteria, but it doesn't talk about the temporary.
You want some more on that, Eric?
Well, I guess I think it should be written someplace that porta potties are required, so there's not putting that much use into the house in the residential septic.
so we could say porta potties are required.
Until another septic system is designed and approved.
I don't think you even need that because they don't have any intention of doing that. If they do that, then they have to meet number 11. I would just say porta potties are required during events. That's normally what we've kind of seen.
So if they put a septic system in, then they wouldn't need porta potties.
Yeah.
Would they come in and just modify it then?
I think
So you
that's
just
something,
add
if they
that-
meet the requirements of a commercial septic system,
Add that language to 11 then, that porta potties will.
I would just add it as a separate condition because then it's easier to remove.
All right.
So I did number 27.
Did you do 26?
26 is the approach permit.
Okay, you did put it in there.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Make most approved with the additional conditions.
Second. Okay, we have a motion, a second.
I had one question on item 16, if I may.
Go ahead.
We're not saying any down directed lighting, just exterior lights as
16
is.
is the light is what we had changed it to quite a while ago because it was based on the language in the lighting standards for the city of Spearfish. This is the correct cut off fixtures, 100% cut off type fixtures.
That's
That
replaces
is
the down
basically
directed.
down throw
Okay.
lighting, but it's
Right.
the appropriate language out of the, what is it, that night sky lighting something or other. I don't know what it is.
All right.
Dark skies.
Dark skies, something like
Okay.
that, yeah.
Further discussion.
Just a quick question here, number 24, where we're discontinuing the music, they're shutting the music down at midnight, which is at the same time as closing. Is that inviting non-compliance if we're shutting the music off and closing at the same time? Or should we be shutting the music off a half hour before?
I'm not gonna be out there. They just have to be done by midnight. If we get a complaint after midnight on anything, then they're in violation of their CUP, I guess. That's kind of how we've always dealt with it in the past is anything, if they call, somebody calls the cops and there's something at midnight or later, they would be in violation.
Okay. Further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion before us will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Now you can bring your sign in and take it
Now the work
upstairs.
starts, right?
And then we need those.
I need your proof of mailings, yep.
So, I don't know how the first one went through. I'd like to see how the cemetery signed it because the address you gave us was to Rolling Hills. And that's the name of cemetery. Got mailed to Rolling Hills. That guy hasn't been the secretary treasurer for 5 years.
So that means nobody's updated the tax records.
Right. But somehow the first tab got signed, so I don't know. Went to the post office, saw Nemo Cemetery, just sent it to 10 o'clock.
Could be, just go ahead and give me those and we'll.
And we got it mailed to the right one, but they're in Arizona, won't be back till tomorrow, so.
Yeah.
We've got another public hearing scheduled for right now. CUP 483, Curtin Jeanette Bauer.
You are here, there you are.
Just hanging out.
You guys are very prompt.
They are.
Okay, no, that's fine. All we have to do is show that you mailed them, so it doesn't matter that they're.
Okay.
Yep. So we're good.
Take some sign upstairs.
Yep, take the sign upstairs. Thank you.
You want to start us off, Amber?
Get with the county superintendent about the code.
How about we just, I'll give you a call, or I'll send you an email what you need to do.
Okay.
Work? Thank you. CUP 483 is Kurt and Danette Bauer. So this is property that we've had some different change of lot lines and things on over the last couple of years. This is at the very end of Goudat Road. They would like to install a long-term campground. At the end of that, it's about 71 acres. With this, there's really, I mean, Goudat Road dead ends. There's nothing else out there. It goes into their driveway. It's a county maintained road all the way to it. So if you go to this, they kind of show the overall, their house is on the upper part of the lot. There's a barn and a house here, and then down here would be their son's future home, and those have all been, so the smaller pieces have now been platted out for housing. They would like to do the long-term camping about right in this kind of knoll here behind, we'll say where the daughter lives currently. And then this was the letter that they had submitted to you guys. They're looking for 10 to 20 RV spots for seasonal guests. They can bring their RV on or after May 1st and pick it up before October 1st. Well and power will be underground. Septic will be engineered after the approval of the CUP. They're not anticipating any signage. It'll kind of be on there will be no permanent structures. I would say you can ask Danette if it's fair, but it'll be kind of an invite, who we know to come out and be there and know that they're going to be taking care of things. These are just some different images that they kind of showed you where the trees are. They have cut in stuff. That's pretty much it on that one.
Okay, well, it is a public hearing, but obviously we don't have any public other than the applicant. Do you want to add anything, ma'am?
I don't think so.
Okay, we'll leave it up to the board for discussion here. And we can act on this today.
Yeah, it is a CUP. Planning and zoning did end up recommending approval of it with the attached conditions.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have some
Yes,
questions for planning and zoning. What are the roads and paths going to be constructed of? Gravel or paving, or
Gravel.
are they going to meet a certain standard?
Nope, we don't have any standards for campgrounds.
So if they get stuck, they get stuck.
Yep.
And so emergency equipment may or may not be able to get into these camp areas.
We don't have any standards for roads, so
And
not on this type of nature.
and then the campgrounds allow fire pits, right?
Yes.
And there's no
It's inside the Forest Service boundaries, so they have to meet all the Forest Service standards anyways, because it is inside them.
but there's no fire protection proposed here above and beyond the fire pit permitting.
No, but there's no trees on it. There's not much on the property.
In Johnson's old place.
Yeah,
I know where it's at.
there is about I don't think it's quite a half-mile road going in there. The county has going into a single-family dwelling at the time, and those were things we were trying to get away from and that, but this will make more of a mobile use out of it.
Commissioner Jennings.
At the RV sites, will they have septics on them for wastewater, or will the RVs have? So they'll be going in and out to dump their wastewater.
Can you go back to their narrative? Can you go back to that? They had that, yeah.
Yeah, there are. We do have companies in the community I know that do go into areas and do
Right
that.
there.
So, and it's gravel road. Is there any dust control that's done on that road now?
There's nothing really to dust control because it's Forest Service all the way on both sides. There's no residential structures all the way down Goudet Road till you get to theirs.
So Goudat's a Forest Service road that's under county.
County road.
County road,
It's a county road.
county
Yeah.
maintains
Across-
it all the
across
way
Forest
through, it's
Service,
just
yeah.
across Forest Service.
Commissioner Diamond.
Well, in this narrative, it says that septic will be engineered after approval of CUP. Are we requiring septic before we issue the permit?
Nope, because we have a lot of campgrounds like this that do not offer full sites. They allow the companies to come in and pump it out right out of the.
So that they're pumping it out of a tank or pumping it out directly from the RVs?
From the RV.
Right from the RV, they do it all the time.
Is there any, let's see, is there any limitations on setting up permitted sites? Would they have to do additional CUP if they did permitted camping besides that?
Yeah, the only thing they're getting, if you guys do it, you would specify it's for, they are saying 10 to 20, you need to specify that. How many sites do they have? Yep.
Commissioner Diamond?
So they're only asking for RV, no
Yes,
tents, no tents,
That's
no
what
nothing.
this is, their application says 10 to 20 RV sites.
Okay, so tents wouldn't be allowed.
That's up to you guys. Their application is for 10 to 20 RV sites.
So I guess the question then is if they would have to come back to the commission board if they wanted to add those. Is that correct? Or could they add
Yes.
them in with, they could not add them in, they would need to.
Yep.
Other questions, discussion?
I guess I would add item 32 that all on-site improvements of roads would be suitable for emergency management vehicles.
Okay, applicant seems to agree with you.
Have our own There's a lot of gravel.
So
Okay.
all on-site improvement of roads be suitable for emergency vehicles. And are you thinking, just so I know, you want to be able to probably get a fire truck, turn
Fire
around
truck,
in there is really
ambulance,
what you're looking
And
at.
it looks
This
like they have
road-
they have an eye, they have a loop anyway. Ambulance,
Well, fire truck, motor homes would be able to get in a fire truck.
Yeah.
Should be, yeah. Those some of those are
Okay, anything further?
Do you want, so number 23 specifies the maximum number of accommodations shall be up to 20 RV seasonal spots from May 1st through October 1st.
And then
I went with the high end because they were saying 10 to 20.
how many are shown on their graphic in orange?
Oh, there's,
Pardon me?
yeah, 14 is what he has on here.
Then I would revise that to 15. If they want to come in and add more, they could. They could amend it. Because this doesn't show a traffic pattern in the handle 20. So I would put it at 15 for now. If they want to do further.
And I don't have to come back again.
Yeah, but you would be changing your interior operations, so I would like to see it at 15.
And then do you want to specify 10 since that question came up? It's just a hard
I
thing
know,
because
that's
you have
why
a
I asked.
grandkid that wants to throw a tent out
Yeah,
there.
I don't have an issue. That's why I asked the question. Trying to be reasonable and practical.
Okay.
They can put up an awning or whatever. So maybe something tent camping would be associated with the RV spots or something like that. Just throwing it out there.
Bruce?
I think you capped it at your proposal, your recommendation would be to cap it at 15. And as I heard you say it, that you would need to have more information to justify an additional 5 or more campsites to show a traffic pattern or the ability to accommodate that level of traffic. Is
Yeah,
that
health
fair?
safety and welfare.
See, if you look on, he's got them on this side, you have them on this side. Or along, I mean, his drawing isn't totally, I mean, there's a lot of room in between each campsite. More than what it looks like in that picture. So we could stick it in other places if we, I mean, at this point, that's not a plan, but I mean,
Well, my position is this is what we have to act on. If we had more detail, we could have done that. But what we have before us today, I'm sticking with 15. That's just my position. There's 4 other members on this board.
Did you say that you were gonna put electrical pedestal there and you could put some of them inside that circle? So that what you had in mind. So that isn't an accurate, diagram of what you
It
might
is right
do.
now.
I guess I'd be all right with the 20 then due to that added,
I think, yeah, to be consistent with what you guys have done and over the last couple of years with campgrounds, you have required a detailed site plan showing exactly what they're asking for.
Yeah.
So when they come and ask me, well, I want to do one here, do one there, do one here, I have a standard to go from. So if you go to the 20, I think they need to have an approved site plan showing exactly where everything's going to be. And that's kind of what you've done. You've added, I don't have it on here, but we have a condition that basically says something to the effect of the detailed site plan would have to be submitted as part of the building permit, showing exactly up to, if you want it to be 20, you can do that as 20.
Yeah. All right.
Something to that effect.
We've had issues before where they have a bunch of RVs parked in that area and we don't know how many we have there and we have complaints and enforcement issues. We've seen it many times. Yeah, so the level of detail presented to us, I'm not comfortable issuing the 20. But, you know, when they come in with the building permit, they could ask for an amendment, couldn't they?
But you have to remember, amendment, it's not just an easy, it's a public hearing process.
Right.
So that's a major change in the number.
Yeah, because you're changing the number of slots.
It's one thing if they were a slight vocational or something.
Additional fee.
Well, maybe we could word it that 20 could be allowed if the development plan for the building permit shows that it's approved by this board, something like that, give them a little latitude.
Well, I guess my intention with this is I am going to require a commercial building permit. Not structurally, because they're not putting structure in. So I would probably recommend that they have to do a development plan just like any other commercial, which would get them to a little more detailed site plan. So you could have the conditions saying they could have up to 20 with the approval of the development plan or something.
The way to do it, because if the plan does, it ends up being 18, then we'll go, okay.
Yeah, and then you can enforce it.
Yes.
That's the thing, is
Yeah.
we need that enforcement clause in here so we just don't have them scattered out there, which we've experienced in the past.
Does that say up to?
You're getting the fallout from
I
other
had shall be up
campgrounds.
to 20 is what I had written, but 15 is what he requested.
Yeah. Well, I can live with some language in there that up to 20 with the approval of the development plan showing the exact location, something like that. I can live with that.
It's designed to accommodate,
Yeah.
development plan designed to accommodate.
Yeah, something like that. Well, I just, if we put it in the conditions.
So I think what we've done in the past is it says something to the effect of a detailed site plan shall be approved for the development plan process prior to a building permit being issued. It's something like.
Yeah, and then we would add in there, and the final number of RV sites would be ratified at that point. At that plan.
Can't be up to
Up to 20 sites, but depending on the development agreement, being able to facilitate that many sites, right?
Yeah, something like that. That's what I'm after.
I have one question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just to be clear now, so I don't know that it matters, but are these sites all for family or do you propose to have some commercial as well? So, okay, so no advertising then or anything like that?
No, I am treating this as a full campground. I'm not showing.
I'm just trying to be really clear. We're not.
Because we will run into the fact that I did not treat it as a friends and family. It's, if they choose to advertise, it's fine, but they can't have more than 20.
Yeah, it's a commercial
I mean,
campground.
it's a commercial campground, yeah. Yep.
I don't think they could permit it unless they put something here in the other way.
Yeah.
So they're all equal. Do we have the language we need on the 15 to 20?
I think so.
I would move to approve with the conditions updated to reflect the 15 or 20 permit with the detailed site plan.
Second. Motion in a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So Jeanette, I'll send you an email. So you're not quite, I mean, you've been approved for the CMP, but as I had emailed you guys a couple times, I figured a detailed site plan would be needed. So we're gonna need a little more work on that, but now you know you have the CMP. Yes.
Yeah.
So we will, I'll send you the development plan or the form that you can fill out, and then there's like a detail of like what you need to show. So I'll email it to you, okay?
Thank you.
you.
Jesse, did you have something else for us?
I asked him to come to the chairman. I think Randy has some follow-up questions.
I think we're good. It's just I wanted a little information on all of the areas that he's servicing, and he's trying to get the numbers we can get the best he can.
It's confusing because the federal number is 2402. I got some Commissioner Diver, but the number of veterans that I put into my system based on their address showing Lawrence County is 944.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Jason.
Items from the public. They all ran. Items from commissioners.
Do we have any information or need on this Hubbard Feeds readily block operation? What do we need to do about the water there?
So I think that's the annexation in Spearfish. I think you got notice because of the highway shop.
No, he's talking about Hubbard over Whitewood.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Ridley Block.
What's I assumed that water was concerned. Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
Oh,
Mr.
I
Chairman,
wondered why we got a package or something.
Commissioner Diver.
Richard, I'll speculate a little bit. I think they have to pre-treat it before they put it into the septic system. Not Whitewood, because they have industrial. So they have before it's discharged into the city system, I think they have to treat it.
I see.
In reading it, I think that's what this is about.
Yeah. Yeah, it talks about the pre-treat.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I can report that I've heard back from Steve McFarland with the city. They are open to have further road discussions. They will check with staff about a date and time. I let him know that Chairman and Richard continue to represent the county and that our schedules are flexible typically to meet with them, and having John Bay on it.
All right. Randy.
So we have a letter from Whitewood on an annexation.
That's our county shop.
Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Hills Material Yard, right next to the Hills Material
Yeah,
Yard.
it shouldn't be.
Between the railroad and Laurel Street. So, I think it should be annexed, actually.
That's out on the north end there.
Yes, it's the interstates or the drives coming in. Here's the railroad. So.
They've already annexed the stuff on the other side of Scalehouse Lane. So this is actually a piece between the city limits. Then there's this, then there's Scalehouse Lane, which used to be Jim Christensen's property. That's already been annexed. So kind of a weird little island between the two.
It's not affecting the county road system.
No. Anything further?
We had an invitation from South Dakota Ag and Land Trust for an event at Matthews Opera House. I don't remember the date, it's June 3rd maybe. Just, if, as we move forward in this county with development and we're cognizant of the comprehensive plan and the desire to maintain ag property in the county, the Ag Land Trust system is probably going to be the best way to accomplish that. So I would encourage us all to support that in some manner. To put some conservation easements on the ag land, to provide some income opportunities to the landowners so they don't feel pressured into development for financial purposes.
Okay. Tag along with that, the Delvecchios on that property. Delvecchios went through a long process and chose this organization because they were locally represented. They weren't nationwide necessarily, that's a good organization with good people on that board.
So somewhat local, it's a state organization, but it's just in the state and provide the flexibility that you desire as a land.
And you can still manage the property, but you protect it. That's kind of been there.
And just so you know, they're speaking at the South Dakota Planning Association. They're coming to do a thing on everything.
Got the Matthews application. Anything further, Randy?
Okay. currently, multi-departments are using Indeed to hire employees. So I spoke with Greg a little bit about that, and he was going to come to our next meeting if we could put him on the agenda under general business and talk about whether we could consolidate that into one license and what the cost would be. It's a preface to next year's budget. The sheriff's office, Amber, and everybody are using these licenses, and why not have one? So he was either going to put it in his budget or in the commission budget. He would like to come in next week.
He wants to come in apart from the budget discussion then?
Yeah, it's kind of a preface to see what the costs are and how it would work. If it will work.
We start the
It's how I
budget first
got-
meeting in July. Budget is, we just start discussions in July.
Our budgets are due on June 14th, June 12th. June 12th at 8 o'clock. It's a Monday.
And Bruce, I would leave that to you and him, whether you want it part of that or not. It's just, I wanted to bring it up.
Are
because
we
we're
gonna? have,
It'll be in July, will be the,
Okay.
yeah, the 2 meetings
All
in
right.
July will be
All
our
right.
budget hearings in the afternoon.
And I believe I'm gone that July 25th, is it? That one, that last
Yep.
meeting in
Yes.
July.
That's the big budget one.
So if they're, just if you want to move the meeting, it had to be there, then you can, but otherwise I need to be in San Diego.
And then also, Mr. Chairman, we've had these applicants for these mineral extractions quarries recently. And I'm wondering if we want to look at having some of that vetted through our natural resource committee. Just a thought now that we've made that a more diverse committee. It's an asset maybe we could use or not. So I just wanted to plant that seed.
Well,
It might be kind of late now.
Yeah,
in the
I
process,
mean
going
in the
forward.
future. Yeah.
maybe in the future,
Yeah,
yeah.
it just
but I
came.
don't
It just
wanna
came to my
compromise it any more than it already is.
Obviously, I didn't mean these two.
Yeah.
So what considerations would they be looking at as they evaluate mining?
Good questions. Maybe we discuss it at our committee meeting and see if we want a part of it too.
Okay, anything further? Richard, do you have anything?
No, but I might add there that Natural Resource Committee, some of those things and different topics should involve other people that are concerned, involved in those topics rather than giving it all to some people that may not even be concerned with mining.
Brandon, anything?
Well, I just think, the committee historically will call in experts and it'll eventually go to planning and zoning anyway. Just if we want to weigh in or not. I think we just have that as a discussion on our agenda if we want to. But usually we've changed the name from timber to natural resource, so it's broader.
I missed it.
Okay, anything else to come before the board this morning?
That's the question.
For the good of the order.
Let's do adjourn.
10:26.
We are adjourned.
June 13th is your next meeting.